Number 5.
The Exit 8 is an extremely successful anomaly game created with Unreal Engine 5. On Steam it sold roughly 800,000 units and achieved a gross revenue of an estimated $2.6 million. But outside of Steam, it's also available on all modern consoles, mobile devices, and it also has a VR version, leading to over 2 million sold units when combining all platforms. It was created by a solo developer over the course of 9 months, with 6 months being used for planning and prototyping, while the production and polishing phase took about another 3 months. His inspiration for this title were indie games like I'm on Observation Duty and 12 Minutes, and Exit 8 kicked off the huge trend of first-person anomaly spotting games that still goes strong till this day. At the Indie Developer Conference 2024, the developer Kotake explains how his goal for Exit 8 was to make a game with a short development cycle, which would hopefully sell enough units on Steam to then fund his more elaborate projects, and I'm certain he never expected Exit 8 to blow up like this. Before going indie, Kotake actually worked as a 3D artist for about 4 years, and while he created some models for Exit 8 by himself, he tried to use marketplace assets whenever possible and also used the MetaHuman creator for the salaryman you encounter in the hallway. Before we move on to the next game, a quick word from this video's sponsor, Coursera. Coursera is a learning platform that offers access to online courses and degrees from leading universities and companies. It also hosts multiple courses created by Epic Games, and the one I want to highlight in this video is the Epic Games Game Design Professional Certificate. While you'll also use Unreal Engine in this course, it actually focuses more on game design principles, how to write game design documents, level design, user experience, and so on, making it quite different from the majority of other Unreal courses you'll find out there. In the last chapter, you'll plan out a complete game with multiple game modes and create it using the knowledge you acquired in all prior chapters, and by completing the course you'll earn a certificate by Epic Games. Use the promo link in the description to find the course and get 40% off for 3 months of Coursera Plus.
Number 4.
Upstep Mate is a simple 2.5D platformer created with Unreal Engine 5.4, and you can think of it a bit like Jump King meets the triple jump mechanic from Mario 64. The game was created by a husband and wife team who I actually met at an indie game event, and both of them had prior experience working in the games industry for almost 10 years, with him having worked as a level designer and her as an UI artist. Their goal for this project was to create a simple yet polished game from start to finish in a short amount of time to get used to the entire cycle of making a game independently, and it took them roughly 3 months of work to finish Upstep Mate and release it. The idea to create a sprite-based 2D-3D hybrid came from the developer's love for PS1 titles like Xenogear and Breath of Fire 4, and his reason for choosing Unreal Engine was that he was already experienced with it, both from hobby projects and his prior work as a level designer, making it the obvious choice. Even though he started from a C++ project, he actually ended up using only blueprints for the entire game since C++ wasn't necessary and he also doesn't have much experience with it. But he stated that for future projects he wants to incorporate C++ for parts where it might be necessary to boost performance. For Upstep Mate he only used base Paper 2D without any plugins and created his own state machine to switch between animations. But for his upcoming title, Rural Cat Trails, he's already using the free Paper ZD plugin, which makes things much easier to manage. While Upstep Mate wasn't a huge financial success, it was a necessary step allowing them to learn the 2.5D workflow in Unreal, how to deal with self-publishing on Steam, and also how to market an indie game. And all of this knowledge is now paying off, with Rural Cat Trails looking amazing and already having reached around 10,000 wishlists while getting a lot of attention on social media.
Number 3.
Blue Fire is a 3D platformer and Metroidvania made with Unreal Engine that often gets described as Hollow Knight meets Zelda, and having played a whole lot of Wind Waker in the past, I also felt strong Zelda influences when I booted up the game to record this footage. A while ago I already covered Pseudo Regalia in this series, which was made using Unreal Engine 5, but Blue Fire does many similar things and was actually released much earlier since it uses Unreal Engine 4.25. According to Gamealytic, Blue Fire reached a gross revenue of over $1 million on Steam, while also being available on the Switch, PlayStations and Xboxes, making it quite the commercial success. And on top of that, it also received an Epic Mega Grant. While there are a few developer interviews showing in-development footage, the focus is mostly on the game design and they don't really talk much about how they used Unreal. However, you can see a few screens where they make heavy usage of blueprints, while I wasn't able to find any footage of them using C++, making me believe that Blue Fire was mostly, if not completely, made with blueprints. In another interview, the creative director mentions how they're a team of 8 people with 2 programmers, 3 artists, 1 animator, 1 director, and 1 business manager. For many members on the team, this was their first commercial game and it took them about 2 years to create Blue Fire. While playing the game, I noticed that it has a very generous coyote time, allowing you to jump even a full second after you fall off a platform, and it's also using a blob shadow below the player, which is a great thing to have for 3D platformers.
Number 2.
Trailout is a racing game with lots of vehicle destruction and a spiritual successor to the Flatout series. There really wasn't much information about its development available online outside of the fact that it was created with Unreal Engine 4.27. There is a Reddit post by the developers, but I can't even look at it anymore thanks to Reddit just being Reddit. But the one thing that does give us some more information are the credits, which are now also listed on Moby Games. Here we can see that the core team consists of only 4 members, with 1 game director, 1 programmer, and 2 artists, with sound effects and voiceovers of course being outsourced. The credits also list a special thanks message, which lets us know that the development of Trailout took 3.5 years. Many games I mentioned in the series were made completely with blueprints, and while I can only make guesses, I believe for Trailout they had to heavily utilize C++, either to make the car physics completely from scratch, or to build upon the vehicle movement component that Epic gives us. According to Gamealytic, it reached a gross revenue of over $800,000 on Steam, while also being available on consoles and still getting big updates and new content to this day. And it also managed to win multiple contests and received an Epic Mega Grant.
Number 1.
Severed Steel is a fast-paced first-person shooter made with Unreal Engine 4.27. You can think of it as a mix between Superhot and Hotline Miami with movement mechanics from Titanfall. It managed to sell about 600,000 copies and reached an estimated gross revenue of about $2 million according to Gamealytic, and the game was on sale for $1 in the summer of 2025, which is when I picked it up. Some of the assets and levels have been outsourced, but for the most part the game was created by a solo developer who gave an interview on the Unreal Engine blog and also released a retrospective video which gives us some insight on how the game was created. Matthew is a self-taught game developer who got his feet wet by messing around with modding tools for Half-Life and Morrowind, and Severed Steel is his first commercial game. In his video there's a lot of great advice for new indie developers, since Matthew made a lot of the common mistakes like wanting to make an open world game, overscoping projects, or getting distracted by game mechanics that don't really matter that much. At some point there were big open areas, a snowmobile, and a gun that would allow you to add new geometry to the level, but he was able to turn things around and start to really focus on what matters for this game, which is the fast-paced combat. He also goes into more detail on his prototyping process and how him putting out in-development footage to gather feedback was essential to steering the game in the right direction. The environments in Severed Steel are made up of voxels using the very popular voxel plugin for Unreal Engine 4, and while he was working on some of his first areas, Epic Games ended up buying Quixel Megascans, which led to him using textures from their library with his environments. And that was a big step to figuring out the final look of this game. One really cool thing he showed off is that you can create voxel objects in Magica Voxel and import them into Unreal Engine, and this is the workflow he used early on before creating a dedicated level editor for Severed Steel. With voxels and fully destructible environments, you can't really rely on baked lighting, which is why he only uses dynamic lighting through a skylight and also placed a whole bunch of non-shadow casting spotlights around the levels. As always, a huge thanks to my awesome patrons and YouTube channel members.